Hey everybody, this is AYG's Alpha Team here with another video for the Division. This is going to be about my Firecrest build after patch 1.6. I'm going to have a little bit of gameplay towards the end of the video too. I'll go ahead and timestamp that in the description if you want to just rush to that. But before that, we're going to go over all the pieces, so let's get into it. Now I'm running 4-part Firecrest with a 2-part high-end, and the high-end is actually really important to this type of build. You can run Firecrest a bunch of different ways. I'm running the skill power Firecrest to get the most out of my actual turret. But with that, it makes it a little light on the toughness and a little bit lighter on the actual DPS. And the reason is because we're using Vigorous, grants overheal to all healing skills on this chest piece. We want this because we want to get the most out of our health. And we're rolling for health and health on kill. Next up, we got the mask, electronics, and skill power. Wish that minor was a burn, but that's what we'll go with. Knee pads. I wish this major attribute was actually health, but this is what the RNG gods gave me, so we're going to have to go with that. Next up is the backpack. We're going with a relentless. I've tried countless numbers of backpacks. This is the one that works the best. And before I forget, let's go back and take a look at these mods I'm using. Electronic skill power, and this particular one I'm using stamina skill power. I'm using the stamina just to unlock some of the perks on the weapons. Really don't need a respect for stamina anymore. You just want to make sure you're going with firearms and skill power. And this one, like I said, electronic skill power, knee pads, electronic skill power, and I'm also using turret damage as all my performance mods. And since we have so much electronics on most of our stuff, we really don't have to respect for skill haste. And because the turret is going to be lasting with this build that we have, we don't have to worry about having to throw it out every, 20 seconds. So we don't have to spec for the skill haste. Another firearms piece right here with the gloves. I'm running 2 firearms, again, to unlock some talents for the weapons. Sometimes I do use these Savage Gloves, though, to get a little bit more crit chance out of my weapons. But for now, we're going with the 4-piece. Because that 15% against burning targets comes in handy. Again, another health mod right here, a health attribute. And this build, like I said, is very fire turret centric, so which you could assume with, running a Firecrest build. The 2 weapons I use are the Navy MP5. Try to get a good amount of crit hit chance out of it. I ran it with accurate, hurried, and responsive. Hurried is actually a little well known to people that use SMGs, but I find it to be one of the most underused talents. It's actually really good in these situations where you're coming across more than one opponent all the time. We're always trying to get talented, just to kind of get more skill power out of that turret, of course. In Caduceus, I use this in Last Stand a lot, just to kind of help my team out with that healing skill power, 1% skill power, and since we're using such a high skill power build, it's more beneficial. The Navy MP5 has mods built for critical hit damage. It's already got a ton of critical hit chance just by being a submachine gun, so damage is more important. Now with the Caduceus, since it's an assault rifle, we wanted more crit chance, but the RNG gods have not given me much, so I only have it as my main stat on the scope. Everything else is the minor stats, or have critical hit chance. Again, we want to make sure that we're getting the most out of these weapons because we need to complement our turret more. I do sometimes roll the enhanced PP19 with responsive, hurried, and talented, and sometimes the LVOAC just to kind of get a little bit faster DPS, but I do find that the Navy MP5 is plenty for the build I'm working with. Now, let's go over the abilities. Of course, I'm using the turret. Pretty good damage. It could be better, but like I said, we're unlocking a bunch of talents on our weapons, so the damage is a little bit lighter than it could be. Cooldown is just around the same lifetime span of the turret. We're also running with the first aid defibrillator. I did try to use the support station for a while, and it's effective, but the defibrillator is just a little bit more effective. Plus you get a lot faster heal out of it with the heal over time. Keeps me alive a little bit more often. For talents, I'm going with the wildfire, of course, because of the turret. I'm also going with the tech support. So every kill I get lets the turret stay out a little bit longer, which is good. And I'm using the medical combat medic mainly to keep my turret alive even longer. With that proxies within 200 meters gets 40% healed, that's going to help out a lot. Now you could go also running this triage for skill cooldowns, of course, because we want that skill as much as possible. You could go with critical save to help you out a little bit more, or if you want to get a little bit more, one is a none to maximize your bullets. All good choices, but this is just what I'm running with. And like I said, this build is around the turret. So we need to stay alive so the turret stays up. In order to do that, that's why we're running the Vigorous, to have more health. That's also why we're getting more health from the Relentless. For every time our turret's burning somebody, we're getting health back. The same with the health on kill. And with making sure we're using the defibrillator for the first aid. Now there's tons of ways to run it. This is how I'm doing it. Weapon damage is okay. Crit chances right around where it could be a little bit better, but for what we're using, it's fine. And like I said, we didn't roll for skill haste because we don't really need it as much as you would think, because we've got other things healing us, and the turret kind of just stays out on its own. It doesn't need to throw it out every 2 seconds. Toughness 287. Armor mitigation is almost 33%, which is pretty good. So let's get into a little bit of gameplay so you can see how it works. Now there are a couple rules with running this. Rule number 1 is going to be let your turret do the work. Now since we built so much heavily around the turret, we want to let it do most of the damage. So right here you can see it put it out, put some bullets on him. All I really want to do is make sure he's not hitting me. Let my turret clean him up. Pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy about it. The next rule we're going to work with is turret placement. Turret placement can be a big deal, which you'll see in a couple of these clips. Now right here I know he has to move forward, so if I put it on top of this truck, he is not going to be able to move forward without taking some kind of damage from that turret. And all I really do is take advantage of that. And again, let the turret do the damage. This is another situation where the turret placement is going to be a bigger deal. Now you can't really run and gun with this build. This build is meant for a lot of support and doing a lot of damage with your turret. The turret's going to heal you as it's hitting, and it's also going to do most of your hit points. You really don't have to rely on your gun too much. Next rule is know your environment. So in this situation you can see this guy is kind of locked down by the turret here at the base. So all I have to do is make sure he gets out of cover. I do that by throwing the turret behind him, forcing him out, and letting him be the product of this environment. Fire, turret, and my gun. You really don't have a chance. Now the rest of these scenarios are more for zoning, kind of controlling areas. First turret went out, drop another one. So now they're forced to make decisions on whether they want to advance. They try, and like I said, letting the turret do the work. I'll let the rest of these play out. You can kind of see like how I get healed, how much the turret does damage, how much I'm helping out the team. A lot of scenarios are just like me staying alive, letting the team come to me and help with these kills. Check them out. like I said, like, just staying alive, being able to avoid gunfire is the main thing, and let your turret handle the situation more than anything. In this one, you can just see, I'm just trying to stay alive, let my teammates catch up with me, finish these guys off. That's it for the build, guys. I mean, you can build this a ton of different ways. This is just how I'm doing it. This works for me. It's a lot of fun to use. I definitely recommend it. A lot of people are saying it's kind of diminished since 1.6, but I love it. Thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead. Game on.
Game on! Yeah, game on!